Penny Simpson here from Purposeful Decision, Women's Self-Defense. My question for you today is, when does a self-defense situation actually end? I want to share an example of an incident that happened down in Seattle. A 67-year-old man was taking his dog Alice for a walk. Another man named Jamar Williams ran up upon him to steal his jacket. So the senior citizen used pepper spray in order to defend himself. Now, according to the police, after a brief retreat, Jamar ran up behind him to get revenge. Instead of paraphrasing, I'm just going to read to you what the senior citizen said in his own words. I heard pounding of feet, and I turned around, and he was running full speed at us, and I didn't have time to really do anything. I had Alice on the leash, and he came running towards her, knocked me down, and kicked her so hard that she went up in the air and started hemorrhaging. Unfortunately, the dog died. Jamar, the aggressor, was released by personal recognizance by the judge, and of course did not return to court for his next hearing. Now, I remember as I was moving up in my belt levels in my self-defense training, we would not pass a belt test after we got to a certain rank if, after doing a technique, we turned our back to our opponent and just walked away. And the reason for this was to teach us that we never want to let our guard down, because we never know what could happen next. With that being said, let's take a look at our force continuum. The force continuum is a moral and ethical decision tree for us to follow in order to stop someone from hurting us. In this self-defense scenario, if we look at the first four choices on our force continuum, given the details of the scenario, it is highly unlikely that any of the first four options would have worked for this man. The next option on our decision tree is devices, which includes non-lethal weapons like pepper spray. That was a very acceptable and logical choice for him to choose to do that. Also, being the least amount of force that he probably could have possibly chosen. The mistake that the man made is actually a very common mistake in his thinking, and that was, one, he turned his back and he walked away assuming it was all over. Secondly, he didn't have any other backup in case the pepper spray didn't work as planned. Once he used the pepper spray, he then had two options. He could be prepared to move up in the force continuum if necessary, or as long as he has enough time, he could exit the area as quickly as possible, and in doing so, be very careful that the man doesn't follow him. Now, here's a video of two women who used bear spray against the aggressor, but they were also prepared to move up in the force continuum if necessary.
All right, your prescription is ready.
And yesterday afternoon, as she was filling prescriptions, one customer walked in who Susan recognized all too well, Aaron Miller. A police sketch kept on the counter was the same man detectives say robbed the store 2 times before.
And one of my technicians walked past me and said, "We're being robbed, it's him, he's back."
Susan then approached Miller but played it cool. Miller handed her a note.
And the paper said gun, give me all was underlined, oxycodone and methadone.
Susan then went back to the medicine shelves.
I was just thinking, my head was going, what should I do?
And came up with a plan. Since the last robbery, Susan bought pepper spray, and not just any pepper spray, but counter-assault bear deterrent. The woman who always helps patients had lost her patience. You can see in the surveillance video she lets him have it and chases Miller out of the store.
The deciding factor for me is I know how far away law enforcement is here in Deer Park. I know that we are going to have to kind of take care of ourselves. What Susan did was awesome.
Employee Susan Burton's instincts kicked in too. If you watch this video one more time, you can see she chased Miller out with a bat.
Hopefully he gets what he deserves. I don't think he's gotten what he deserves.
A criminal that got a taste of his own medicine, so pharmacists could go back to helping the people who really need it.
How do you feel about everything that happened?
Empowered. I'm really, really glad that we could take care of this. I'm really glad that we were able to take care of ourselves.
So these women had a bat, which is in the category of club in the force continuum, and they were very successful at chasing the aggressor away. Now back to my original question. When do you know when a self-defense situation is really over? This man ran away for now, but is it possible for him to come back for revenge? Could he wait for them and follow them home? And don't be surprised if he comes back later. Now here is a story of a woman who was raped and her rapist was sent to prison. He ended up getting out early due to overcrowding in the prison. And after 7 years of prison, he came to get revenge and he raped her again. 75-year-old woman. So when does a self-defense situation end? The answer, you never really know. They may retreat immediately and never come back. They might retreat briefly, come back for revenge. They might retreat for a day, 2 days, or a week, and then come back. Or they might get sent to prison for years and come back to get revenge. Just because it's over for you doesn't mean it's over for them. We can choose to be victims and do nothing, or we can choose to believe within ourselves that we have the right to stand up to stop someone from hurting us, knowing that the battle might be longer than we had ever anticipated. One thing I know for sure, if we choose to be victims, the violence will never stop. And violent-minded people will only become more emboldened and more empowered.